We knew Mimi was in first class, and Blythe was in second. Thad had a room in first class, so I went with him to C deck to search, while Emma and Amelie remained in second class with Lee to look for Blythe. The moment we got to first class, I immediately felt my dress was shabby compared to the gorgeous dresses and day suits. I saw parting past, and I mentioned it, though Thad just smiled. You look better than all of them. They needed all that stuff because they don't have what you do. What do I have that they don't? I asked, immensely pleased with his compliment. You know what? He said, as we hurried down the hall. That's certain something. You know, inside? What a letdown. You're saying I'm smart? I surmised unhappily. I knew I wasn't a raving beauty like Mimi, but I'd hoped he was working up to a more thrilling bit of praise than smart. Not only smart, he said. Stop finishing the compliments. You know what I mean. I didn't know. I had no idea. And I'd have given anything to hear him say what was the special something I possessed was. But since he was onto my attempt to get him to compliment me, I would probably never know. And it occurred to me, if he thought I was so special, why hadn't he written? After walking through the labyrinth of thick carpeted hallways unsuccessfully looking for Mimi, Thad guided me to an empty room on the A deck. It was filled with elegant tables and upholstered chairs. Heavy moldings surrounded a huge chandelier in the center, and its many windows were draped with velvet curtains and matched the swirling bouquet of patterns in a thick wall-to-wall carpet. This was the reading and writing room, he told me. As I examined the linen stationery, embroidered with the ship's letterhead, that had offered free for the taking, Thad pulled out a chair for me beside a highly polished round table. I sat and he took the chair beside me. I'm so glad to see you again, Jane, he said. I thought you were going to write to me, I reminded him. I hadn't planned to be so direct, but the words tumbled out almost on their own. He pressed the tip of his fingers together and studied them for a long moment before speaking. Jane, when we first met, I didn't realize you were only 16. But you said I was smart. I said more than smart. Then what's the difficulty? He leaned back and studied me for a mixture of amusement and frustration. You're blunt, aren't you? I just want to know why you didn't write, I said. It just didn't feel right to be corresponding with a girl of your age. Even a smart girl? Jane? My birthday is in 4 days, I told him. I'd be 17. I'm 20, he reminded me. 17 does sound better than 16, though. You make too much of it, I insisted. There's not much difference between us at all. He thought for a moment. Let's forget about it for the first time we're on the ship, he suggested. I'm surprised to see you, but really glad. He laid my hand lightly on his, an overly bold gesture, perhaps, but it felt right. I'm really glad to see you, too. We left the reading and writing room and set back out to continue looking for Blythe and Mimi. You still haven't told me why you and Tesla are here. I reminded him as we walked along the second-class promenade, checking every desk chair for signs of them. Okay, here's the thing, he began earnestly. You can't tell anyone Tesla is on board. Who would I tell, I questioned. Besides, doesn't the White Star Line already know? He must be on the ship's roster. Dad shook his head and offered me an arm to hold. It felt wonderful to be walking arm in arm there like a real couple. He bent closer in order not to be overheard. He's traveling under the name Emil Christman. Why? He bent closer still, leaning in until we were nearly nose to nose. This closeness thrilled me. I was drawn to the warmth of his body. John Jacob Astor the Fourth is on the Titanic, he revealed. Speaking very quietly, Tesla is determined to talk to him while he's captive audience on the ship. Tesla has a couple inventions to pitch on the guy. He's even brought some prototypes to demonstrate. He doesn't want the press catching wind of any of this. Is he worried they might file a report in France? I asked. No, Thad said, shaking his head. They only take on pastors in France and Ireland. No one gets off. The problem is that there's a macaroni room on board. Macaroni, the investor? Yes, it's named after him. It's a room where they send telegrams. It drives Tesla crazy that they call it the macaroni. He's suing the guy for stealing his ideas. He told me about that, I said. It should be the Tesla room. If Tesla was allowed to do his work in peace, ships would be able to speak from ship to ship by now. Anyway, the ship is crawling with reporters and writing reports and articles about the trip. One of them could send a telegram ahead. Some capitalist in America might steal his idea and set up a rival manufacturing plant before we even land in a week from now. All those new inventions make things move so fast these days, I committed. Dad laughed dryly. This is just the beginning. At the rate things are being invented, even with all the delays, everything will keep moving faster and faster, you'll see. What kind of delays, I ask. Competition, lack of money. Dad answered, Tesla has lost years of research because he always needs money, guys, to back him up. And the money men only care about something if it can make them more money. Tesla can't manufacture any of his inventions, but the big shots have the money to jump on it. Why is he so desperate for Astor's money? He likes Astor's, thinks he's a good guy. A smart guy. He invented a few things himself. Tesla trusts him. From what I've heard, I guess that's important, I remark. Trust is important to Tesla. It's important to everybody, I guess. How do you know Lee? I asked. From when I was in China. I told her father I would escort her over from England to America with work with him at the restaurant. She's a second class, so you and your sisters can squeeze in with her. Maybe, perhaps, we could also bunk with Blythe or Mimi, I suggested, throwing my arms wide in frustration. Where could they be? Back in the hallway, we found stewards who were willing to check the roster and locate Mimi's room. We knocked on her door and got no response. I wrote her a note on the Titanic stationery. I'm on board with the twins. Meet you here at 3, and I will explain everything. Jane. After I slipped the note under the door, I felt we could stop searching. Then I climbed up a narrow stairs to first-class promenade. We stopped by the railing to gaze out over the water. You know, Jane, I've been thinking about the trust since we talked about it just before. Do you feel you can't trust me because I didn't write to you after I said I would? I kept my eyes on the ocean. I didn't want to say anything hurtful, but I wanted to be honest too. His not writing has caused me a lot of pain. Did I trust him? Was I madly happy to see him? But did it trust him completely? I don't know, I replied.